Welcome to Sam Outside. I'm Sam and I'm outside, exploring how nature can help with my ants. Yeah, I'm not talking about the carpenter ants or, the little red fire ants we have here in the forest. I'm talking about the other kind of ants, the automatic negative thoughts. That's right. We all have them, and it doesn't necessarily make it normal. We all have the capacity for them, but what makes them automatic negative thoughts is their impact, right? So, those of us that have those ants that do have impact on our physical, mental, and emotional well-being, there are ways that we can manage them. And for me, nature is just one way that they can, through the act of nature connection and immersion, through mindfulness. It's mindfulness, the act of slowing down, doing some breath work, being present, inviting opportunities to notice and be aware and focus on those things that smell. What brings you pleasure? What's immediately drawing your attention? So on a warm day like this, right, the earth and the vegetation and the wind moving around me does have a very unique scent. And I want to breathe that in. Where is it coming from? It draws my curiosity. And I will then spend a couple of moments while I'm breathing in nature to pay attention and be aware of the different sounds, right? Maybe it's bird calls. Yeah, maybe it's wind. There's wildlife moving around. Draws my curiosity, but it's happening now, and I'm aware of it, and I want to be curious about what draws my attention. After that, I want to be aware of, movement, right? So maybe it's the movement of the air. I can feel it on my skin. I can see it in the movement of leaves, movement of water, and it's happening right now. And it's that mindfulness and being present that is part of the practice of managing your ants. So those automatic negative thoughts, right? Just as an example, everyone at work hates me. Well, yeah, that can really weigh on you. It will definitely affect your performance. It creates a stress, releases cortisol, and we all know that our emotional state, unmanaged, will start to affect our physical well-being, right? We'll feel it. It'll start to affect our digestion. That cortisol production puts our immediate state into the sympathetic nervous system, activates, reduces blood flow in certain areas. Obviously, it affects our creativity and our short-term memory and ability to focus. It will affect our sleep. And all of these things have longer lasting, ramifications to our overall health and well-being. But if we can do something physically, that will have emotional impact. So being active, getting exercise, well, that releases different, pleasure chemicals, releases endorphins. And if you're, having a good time and seeing the results, well, then you're getting other chemicals that go with that, and it's reducing cortisol. So taking a walk out in nature, being mindful, manages your cortisol, brings a sense of calm, but you're being present through the act of mindfulness in nature. So it's at that moment when we have those automatic negative thoughts and we're feeling those emotions that go with it, to greater reduce the physical long-lasting impact of that, there are some practices, some recommendations, and one of them involves another practice that could be part of your nature connection, which includes journaling, right? Write that down. What is it exactly that you find yourself saying? That act of writing it down will then lead to the next question. Is it true, right? And part of that might be, let's reword it differently. Does everyone at work, in fact, hate you? Well, there might be some people that disagree with some aspects of your work life. There might be some projects that, you could manage differently. They don't hate you. It's not everybody. Are there some people that you don't know and get along with on a professional level, even a personal level? Absolutely. It's normal. But that's not the same impact on your emotional and physical well-being as everyone at work hates me. So once you start to say that that's not true, it reduces or at least changes the effect. And then try and reword it differently. There are some people at work that I don't have as strong a connection with. Yeah, that's probably a little more true. That's a little more normal. Is there something you can do about it? Absolutely. If it matters, all right? If there's an impact, then yeah, there's some steps you can do that. So automatic negative thoughts have impact. And unmanaged, they can lead to some physical results that will greater impact your overall well-being, not just at work, not just in your personal life. They will affect your physical being, and it cascades downward from there. So part of nature connection and spending time outside does affect your physical health in a positive way. And there are some other things that you can do. The journaling and the being present. Is that actually happening now? How important is it? What is the impact of that? So spending time in nature has an impact. You can feel it. And if it's something that you are consistent with, then you'll start to see some gains. And along with exercise, like everything else, right? Changes in your diet, changes in your quality of sleep will have not only immediate long-lasting effects, but when we start to manage cortisol and sources of that, one of those could be ants. Managing those things will help you improve your quality of sleep, which will allow you other aspects of your life to be improved. But the persistence with acknowledging that your ants have negative impact, and that although they might be frequent and they might be long lasting, they might have long lasting effects. There are some aspects of reducing their frequency and their long lasting effects. So one of them is journaling, rewording the question, and that comes through being present. What is it that triggers that? How often does it trigger? Can you do anything about that? So that's all part of the journaling and the question asking around managing your ants. And it's the act of engaging in forced connection, doing mindfulness practices that allows you to focus on what it is to be present. So it's a practice that leads into other aspects of your personal and professional life. But for those people who deal with anxiety, and that could be as a result of the ants, there are some other physical things you can do. So just take a moment here and reset. This is a practice that I found myself using with my own family and with some guests. So something you could do, right? Just invite people to stop in the moment, right? You can see the anxiety building. You can see it in their body language. So the act of just slowly, calmly rubbing your hands together. Now let's just focus on some breath work. Big inhalations through the nose, out through the mouth. Just keep rubbing the hands together. In through the nose, out through the mouth. Breath work does amazing things in the moment, present. It's a physical activity that changes our emotional state, right? So the act of fresh oxygen coming in and the slow, complete release of carbon dioxide has effects. Now when we're putting our hands together, let's just focus on that for a moment. It gives us something to actually listen to. So continue the breath work, but just listen. It's happening right now, being present. While continuing that breath work in, long exhalations out, flowing completely with the breath work. How does that feel? Right? Often anxiety and ants and that production of cortisol and living in the sympathetic reduces blood flow. So you see it in their complexion, but they also feel that they've got cold hands, right? And maybe their stomach's a little tense, right? Their body language is a little bit tense. So this act, how do you feel? Feel my hands warming up. And with big breaths in, big breaths out. After a couple moments of doing this, bring those hands. How do they feel? Warm. And that's it, the contact. Touch of those warm hands. Sense of calm, sense of focus, sense of being present, reducing the immediate impacts of the ants, of the anxiety, of the stress. So just a quick little physical thing you can do, some breath work, along with a physical act and activity while being mindful by being present, does very much help alleviate the stress and the impacts. And immediate, but also long-lasting results. It's just one strategy that I found myself using with colleagues, with guests, with my family. So a quick little change of what we're doing physically can change our emotional state, because our emotional state does have some physical reactions and consequences as well. Spending time outside, doing it mindfully, doing it consistently, practicing mindfulness, being present, being aware, doing some sensory work. In nature, we'll find it a useful practice and habit to have in any situation, whether you're standing in line at the grocery store, feeling your blood pressure rise, more thoughts. Again, the average person has 60,000 thoughts a day in their own head. A lot of self-talk going on in there. And for the average person, it's not always kind, right? We are very, very critical of ourselves in our own head. And that negative self-talk, right? It does change who we are and how we see ourselves, right? Despite how other people actually view us, it's actually really not that important. It's how you view yourself, right? Start with that. Be comfortable and safe in your own skin, and then work on what else you're doing that affects everyone else. So nature helps, nature heals, right? Use nature as a foundation, as a grounding tool, as a learning strategy to help you cope with all those other things in your life. I hope that helps. Thanks for watching. I appreciate your time and your energy. I'll talk to you again soon. Thanks. Bye-bye.